Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the show, World of Wrestling, here today to discuss about Impact Wrestling March 9th, 2021 episode. This episode is pretty good. I actually enjoyed it a lot better than last week's episode, I gotta admit that. Some of the matches were kind of, whatever. But they had some decent storylines. They really booked some good matches leading into their Sacrifice pay-per-view that's taking place on Impact Plus on March 13th. So I'll definitely be watching that and then coming on here to review it, give you guys my insight on how I felt about the pay-per-view and the matches themselves. They booked some really good matches. The matches during the show were, like I just said, okay, nothing special. There was one match that stuck out like crazy. That was really a good matchup, and that was between Ace Austin and Chris Bay. I thought those two men did an excellent job selling this match and just going all out crazy with each other. I mean, TJP is probably going to do a great job with Ace Austin, but I got to admit, fucking Chris Bay would have been a lot better to face TJP in the X Division Championship. Because I think Chris Bay would have put on a better match. Ace Austin, I mean, again, is a good wrestler. I'm not going to, shit on him or say he's crap, because he's pretty damn good in his own right. But let's get into the matches and go over the show. First match on the card was Tasha Steelz versus Jazz in a one-on-one match at Sacrifice. We're gonna see the tag team titles in the women's division defended with Tasha Steelz and Kyrie Hogan versus Jazz and Jordynne Grace. They had their tag team partners in each of their corner. And Jazz wins with an STF submission hold, and she actually wins the match against Tasha Steelz. So that was the end of that match. I didn't think much of that at all. I think fucking Jazz completely is shit, to be quite frank with you. We see ODB, and she thinks... she's actually backstage, and she thinks it's about time she becomes a 5-time knock-up champion. Apparently she likes to be pregnant a lot. Against Deonna Purrazzo, and Susan walks in to challenge ODB, and she's up for the challenge. So Trey Morgan confronts his friend Sam Beal, about aligning with Sami Callihan. He challenges Miguel to a match tonight. And Trey is reluctant, but eventually accepts due to prodding and antagonizing him from fucking Sami Callihan, feeding him all this bullshit and just, brainwashing the kid, convincing him that Trey Miguel is full of shit and he has no passion for professional wrestling. We then have Rohit Raju and Mahabali Shera versus Chris Sabin and James Storm. I didn't think much of this match at all. It was okay for what it was, but it wasn't nothing special here. Chris Sabin actually wins with James Storm with a cradle shock finisher with a 1-2-3. And Rohit was the one who takes the loss. Reno Scum and Triple XL argue backstage as Decay enter into the segment, and it appears Reno Scum accept a challenge from Steven Taris at Sacrifice. Violent by Design is confronted by James Storm and Sabin, and he comes to the defense of Diener, who was beat down by his faction brothers last week, and Diener attacks both of them, and so does VBD. So apparently we're getting Chris Sabin and James Storm competing against Violent by Design, which is going to be Diener and the other guy that is with Eric Young. We also have Brian Myers is backstage with Scott D'Amore, who's at a desk and he's looking over Myers' lawsuit. And Myers says if he eliminates Eddie Edwards from history, they have no problem basically firing and letting go of Eddie Edwards. Instead, D'Amore offers him a hold harmless match, which basically means no rules. Miffed Myers leaves the room, and that's basically it. I think the match is great, but I don't think the concept makes any sense. I mean, he's suing you for unsafe work environment, and you're putting him in basically a hardcore match, which is like ECW type style wrestling, which is what Eddie Edwards seems to portray as a professional wrestler nowadays. And you're putting him in a matchup where he's gonna have to, use weapons and anything goes, and they can end up killing each other. That's what Scott D'Amore said to him. I don't care if you two kill each other in this match. Just, hey, you let out your frustrations on fucking Eddie Edwards. You don't need to sue us. So I'm giving you the opportunity to be able to do that. And that's pretty much the gist of why they set up the match. I don't know why the fuck... it really doesn't make a lot of sense if you're getting sued for unsafe work environment, but yet you're putting someone in a hardcore matchup where people can use weapons of all kinds. It kind of makes the match seem a little contradiction towards what you're trying to tell in this story. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but whatever. It should be an interesting match. I think Eddie Edwards will help Brian Myers, lead him to a really good matchup. Trey Miguel versus Sam Beal. This was nothing major. Trey Miguel makes him submit in submission. Nothing special here. It was very quick. Sami Callihan was there the whole time, and he did something that was very awkward. He had some sort of remote device where he could distort the entire screen, giving his little logo symbol on the screen, and kind of like being like Bray Wyatt's The Fiend type character, where he pops one place and then disappears and goes to another place. Very awkward. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me with that, and he's using a device to do it, and Trey Miguel's acting like he's completely confused, like, where'd he go? Where'd he go? He's got magical powers or something? Like, what the fuck was that? That was something I didn't like. I thought that was illogical bullshit right there. But I do like the path that they're going with this with Trey Miguel and Sami Callihan. I think this match is going to be pretty good. I don't know if this is taking place at Sacrifice, or they may be saving this for Rebellion, depending on what they do. I mean, if they're saving it for Rebellion, they got quite a few weeks to build this up into something major, which they might do. They may turn this into a major rivalry going into the pay-per-view, which I'm fine with as well. So, yeah, that's pretty much the deal with that. We had Tony Khan and Tony Schiavone hyping up their Dynamite episode that's taking place the day after this episode, but I happen to review it after the Dynamite episode, so no need to get into that. Ace Austin and Chris Bay. Again, like I said, this was an excellent matchup. One problem I have with the matchup, though, if you're going to have Ace Austin going to face TJP for the X Division Championship, why would you have Ace Austin lose to Chris Bay? I don't care how good Chris Bay is. It doesn't make any sense for Chris Bay to win the match and beat Ace Austin. It really don't. When Ace Austin's the challenger going into this pay-per-view to face the X Division champion. That was really stupid part. That's the one thing about this match I didn't like. But Ace Austin loses to Chris Bay in a very, very good matchup. It's just the decision on who won was the bad part of this match. Outside of that, the whole match was really good. I wish this would have been for a championship instead of this just being a singles match. That way, if Chris Bay won, he would have been the champion going in, coming out of this. but they weren't fighting for anything. There was no number one contender, stipulation on the line. If he lost to Chris Bay would then become the number one contender. Nothing like that was on the line for this matchup, which made it even worse. So they were kind of just fighting for nothing. They were fighting each other over nothing. And it really didn't make a lot of sense to me to do that. I got to admit, some of the booking ideas and decisions by Impact Wrestling, it's not the best in the world, but, I mean, if you really want to compare Impact Wrestling to Monday Night Raw, I'd take fucking Impact Wrestling over Monday Night Raw any day of the week. So if you got a company like, WWE with a Monday Night Raw episode that's getting 1.5 million viewers or slightly better than that once in a while, and you got Impact Wrestling that only gets a couple 100,000 people to watch their fucking shitty show, and they're booking a better show than fucking Monday Night Raw that's 3 hours, I'll take Impact Wrestling. Okay? So, I mean, they got their own mishaps and issues, which is plenty of them. I mean, I'm pointing them out as I go through here. But still, I mean, it's a good show. It's fun. It's not anything to take seriously. I mean, if you go ahead and you take this shit seriously with Impact Wrestling, you got to be out of your fucking mind. You'd be a fucking retard to do that. So at one point, we had the Good Brothers, the Impact Tag Team Champions, doing a contract signing backstage with David Finlay and Juice Robinson. And they actually do this contract signing for the tag team titles. And they're sitting there drinking some whiskey. I don't know what the fuck kind of whiskey they were drinking. It looked like fucking piss. Really, to be honest with you, it did not look like rich whiskey. It looked like fucking somebody pissed in it. It was that bad of fucking whiskey to me. To be perfectly honest with you, it didn't look like Crown Royale or Proper 12 fucking whiskey or any of that shit. It looked like fucking dark piss that someone had dehydrated or some shit. Pretty fucking bad whiskey, the way they made it look. I don't know if it was real whiskey or not. But it looked pretty fucking shitty looking. But, yeah, they're taking shots of whiskey, and they're getting ready to do this contract signing. And Scott D'Amore is noticing that they're starting to drink. He's like, okay, I'm not conducting this contract signing anymore. I know this is where this is going to go. You guys just sign it, and Doc Gallows, bring it to me when you guys are done with it, and we'll go from there. So they're going ahead and they take about 2 or 3 shots. They're on the third shot, and Finlay pours a big giant wad of fucking whiskey inside of his cup, and Juice Robinson does the same, and then they take a swig, act like they're gonna take a swig, and they take their cups and they sling the fucking whiskey into their the Good Brothers' faces, and they have a brawl after they've signed the contract. So that was pretty much that segment. Nothing special there, but I mean, for a match in itself, New Japan Wrestling's tag team going after Impact Tag Team Gold, I'm pretty cool with that. I think that's a really cool idea, especially with it being just an Impact Plus special episode, pay-per-view. I think that's pretty neat on their part to even just give that to people to view for $7.99. So, kudos to them on that. We then have, I'm skipping some of the minor segments that weren't all that important. I don't really care. We then have match number 5, ODB versus Susan, which I believe is Su Yung without the makeup and all that bullshit. I think that is Su Yung. I'm not sure or not. I mean, Sue is short for Susan, so I would imagine. So, I mean, I think she is Su Yung. I'm not sure. I probably would have to research that to find out. But ODB ends up beating Susan in this matchup. And it was nothing special anyway. I mean, like I said, some of these matches were good. Some of them weren't all that special. But it was definitely better than last week's episode. That's all I can say. So post-match, Kimberly and Deonna Purrazzo come in to attack ODB, but out comes Grace and Jazz for the save that prompts Fire and Flava, who heighten the favor for the heels, and they stand tall at the end of the segment. Moose awaits Scott D'Amore and his announcement in the ring. This heads into a break. We then have Scott D'Amore finally show up. He was actually talking to somebody backstage, saying he's going to go ahead and release the news about what's going to happen for this coming pay-per-view. And we didn't get to see who the person Scott D'Amore was talking to. We later on, after the complete announcement's made, we see who it was, which I'll get into. So Scott D'Amore finally shows up. Moose is getting all pissed off and angry that he had to stand there and wait for a long time and so forth. And Scott D'Amore says, look, I got to have Rich Swann come out here too. This also involves him, so let's go ahead and have both champions out here so I can make this announcement. Rich Swann shows up, and he announces that, I'm fed up of seeing you, Moose, carrying around a TNA World Championship that you never won. You just took it out of a prop and claimed it was yours, and you're the world champion for a TNA world title that's no longer around, claiming you're a world champion. This is very similar to what Taz did with his own belt, though. It didn't take some fucking championship that was previously used from the company and use it for his own benefit. So Scott D'Amore is pretty much showing his disliking towards the idea of what Moose did throughout the last year or so. And he said, you took the belt, you defended it, yeah, and I finally made it a legit title since you have been defending it throughout the entire year. We got the real Impact World Champion, Rich Swann, and you two are going at it. I don't think it's fair for Rich Swann to have to defend his title while you get to carry around the TNA World title. You want to be a legit champion? Let's unify the belts, which is what we're going to do. But here's the thing. We're going to have one only champion on Impact Wrestling. But then this gets even sweeter, folks. They are going to take the winner of that match to go to Rebellion on April 24th to face Kenny Omega for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. Folks, I don't know if you're seeing this happening, but I can see it coming full circle here. We are definitely going to see Impact wrestlers showing up on AEW Dynamite. You can guarantee that. You're going to see a Rich Swann. You're going to see a Moose. You probably might see others like Sami Callihan, Trey Miguel. You may see an invasion of Impact Wrestling versus AEW. That might actually happen. They may try to do a WWF versus ECW/WCW invasion storyline. That might actually happen, but I might be wrong too. You never know. There could be a possibility that might not even happen. We may have like a few superstars from Impact Wrestling trying to get back their world title for Impact and competing for that world championship against Kenny Omega on Dynamite, or they just may keep it on their own show so that it's, being contested on their show, and that way they're getting some credibility saying that they're the ones who did it. So, whatever. But you get my point. Personally, I think this is great stuff. I'm not buying the Rebellion pay-per-view. There ain't no fucking way I can afford all this. I bought the fucking Revolutions pay-per-view, so I'm not gonna go ahead and spend another $39.99 on a fucking pay-per-view like Impact when I got Impact Plus. There's no fucking way I'm doing that. So I'm definitely going to catch it after it happens, or if there's some way I could, stream it another way. Whatever the case may be. But yeah, I'm definitely going to give you guys a review on that if I possibly can. But it should be fun. I hope that they do a great storyline. Don Callis was the one, by the way, who shows up at the end where we couldn't see who Scott D'Amore was talking to, but it was Don Callis. And Don Callis said, hey, Kenny, it's done. We got it. It worked. Whatever. So, their plan is coming together. Just like their plan came together with the fucking explosion that took place on Revolution. Oh, shit. I gotta admit, it should be interesting. I like the idea of the trait of talent being used on both shows. I wish we'd see a little bit more like having Sami Callihan on Dynamite. I think he would bring a lot of eyes to Impact Wrestling. The only guys that we got from Impact Wrestling that's showing up on Dynamite is the Good Brothers. That's it. We ain't got anybody else from Impact Wrestling really getting involved with Dynamite. It seems like the only person that's really involved is Kenny Omega at this point, which I'm okay with. I think Kenny Omega is the fucking shit, playing a douchebag heel, which I liked him as a face, but he's just as bad of a dick on AEW Dynamite as he was in fucking New Japan Wrestling. But in New Japan Wrestling, he didn't cheat. He didn't have to cheat. He was just fucking good at what he did. Lately, in his title defenses, he's cheating to win, which I don't particularly like. I want to see him actually win once in a while without having to cheat. Which is something I would like to see, but who knows if that's going to happen. But anyway, guys, at this time, you know what to do. Hit the like button if you like this video. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to the channel. And leave a comment down below. I'll definitely get back to you on that. And I thank you very much for watching, guys, and I hope you have a great night. Bye.